y'all, so today I wanted to do something a little bit different than what I normally do, and I wanted to do kind of a life wrap-up for my 2016. 90% of the videos on this channel are about books, about what I'm reading, about what I'm writing, but today I kind of wanted to talk to you about what I've been doing over the past year, because 2016 has been a really major year for me, and there have been a lot of really important events in my life, and I've briefly mentioned a lot of them, but I've never really talked about them in very much detail. So I kind of just wanted to, for both y'all and mostly for me, to do kind of a wrap up of my 2016, because it's kind of been a whirlwind year. And that started on day one. Literally the first day of 2016, I hopped on a plane and flew to London, England. For the 2015 through 2016 school year, I was fortunate enough to receive a fellowship from my college, which allowed me to take this trip. Essentially, how this fellowship worked is that there were 5 of us chosen for it. The first semester of the school year, we did research, we had meetings, and we discussed a lot of things about London stage performances in the 19th century. And then we took our trip to London at the beginning of 2016 for 10 days. And then the second half of the school year, we actually spent working on a database and inputting different details about the London stage into that database. And the really great thing about this fellowship was that we actually had all of our room and board and travel fees paid for as part of the fellowship to go to London. And then the second semester, it was kind of like a paid internship where we worked on the database. So that was really awesome. But back to the topic at hand, which is obviously the trip to England. We flew into London and we stayed in Oxford most of the time that we were there, with 1 day trip into London. And I can honestly say that Oxford is the most amazing place I've ever been in my life. I've always really wanted to travel to England, and I've always loved London, but when I got to England, I completely fell in love with Oxford. Like, I enjoyed London, but Oxford ended up being somewhere that I honestly would kind of like to eventually live, because it's just a really, really amazing, beautiful place, and I completely fell in love with it. Another super important thing to note about my trip to England is that my best friend slash college roommate, Sarah, was on this trip with me. She also got the fellowship, and so I basically got to spend 10 days in London and Oxford with my best friend, which was the coolest thing ever. I also kind of put together a video of my trips in England, which I will link up in the cards if you're interested. But yeah, that was probably the coolest and most exciting thing I've done all year. But like I said, there were a lot of other really awesome things that happened this year. So then the next fairly important thing that happened in 2016 was I had an interview at the beginning of February at the graduate program that I considered to be my #1 choice. Essentially, I was in the process of applying to grad school, and I was hoping to do a dual degree in musicology and library science because I want to be a music librarian, and this school in question had a dual degree program where you can do both masters at the same time concurrently and get done in 3 years. And so obviously this was a very good music school, and I really wanted to get in, so I was thrilled to have an interview there. It was a whirlwind 2-day trip, but ultimately it was extremely worth it, because in March I got accepted to the program, not just to the musicology program, but to the library science program as well. So obviously that was the next major life event thing, was that I got accepted to my #1 choice graduate program, and I got accepted to both programs. And so obviously I was extremely ecstatic about this. So that was one really, really awesome thing that happened in March. But the other really cool thing that happened in March was that the first full week of March was my college spring break. And I've never been much of a spring breaker person. I always just fly home to my parents' house and spend a week chilling with my parents. But this year, me and 3 of my closest friends decided that we were going to take a road trip up to Chicago. 2 of those friends are from Chicago, so we basically just stayed at their houses and we explored Chicago a little bit and chilled out, and it was just really cool. It obviously wasn't some crazy insane beach party, but honestly, we didn't want that. We just wanted to hang out and to explore a really cool city, and so that's what we did. And the cool thing about the Chicago trip was, although we didn't end up doing a ton of stuff while we were there, I got to take a road trip with 3 of my closest friends, and that's not something I'd done in the past, and it was really great to just get a full week where we could hang out and chill out, and it was really cool. So then April hit, and that was when all of the super important academic things happened. And the first major thing was that I committed to the 2 grad programs at my #1 choice school. I committed to the musicology department and the library science department, which was just a really, really awesome feeling because I had finally chosen a school and a place that I would be for the next 3 years of my life. But easily the most important and just really awesome thing that I did in April was that I gave my senior lecture recital. I am a violist, and over my last year of undergrad, I was doing a lot of research on this guy who composed a lot of viola music in the early 20th century, who is fairly unknown, and so I presented my research on him as well as playing several of his pieces for my lecture recital. And while obviously this is definitely a major important point of college, it was even more important, I think, to me because all through undergrad until my junior year, at the very, very, very end, I constantly said, I'm not gonna do a recital, I'm gonna do a paper. There's no way you're going to get me to do solo performance in front of a ton of people because that is not my thing. I'm a lot more comfortable on the academic side of music. I'm a musicology student. I do music history and some music theory, and I'm not quite as comfortable with the solo performing things. But eventually I decided that it would be a challenge for me to do a lecture recital, and I like to challenge myself, and I decided that I would feel a lot more accomplished afterward if I went for it and I just sucked it up and I did a recital. And I'm very, very glad that I ended up doing that because now looking back on it, it's honestly one of my proudest moments in my life, and I'm just so glad that I eventually decided to do that. And to be perfectly honest, the lecture recital went really well. I practiced really, really hard. I honed in that lecture part of the recital, and I feel like I produced a really awesome product, and I'm just very, very proud of myself for actually having the guts to do that. And then finally, the last thing that happened in April was that we had at my undergrad a thing called IRCUS, which is an undergraduate research day where basically everyone presented the research that they've been working on over the past year. And I decided to submit my lecture part of my lecture recital to that, and it got accepted, so I presented that at the undergraduate research day. And then me and the other people who got my London fellowship also presented that day. So I basically had 2 pretty major presentations almost back to back that day, which was very stressful. But nonetheless, I got really awesome feedback on both of those lectures, and that was really, really cool. And once again, it was a thing that I told myself I would never, ever, ever do, and yet I pushed myself to do it, and I'm very proud of myself for that. And then of course, May rolled around, and I mean, I guess I did a cool thing in May. I mean, I went to a Pentatonix concert. That was really cool. That was one of the highlights of May for me, is that Sarah and I went to a Pentatonix concert, and it was really awesome because we both love Pentatonix. But obviously, the major thing that happened in May of 2016 is that I graduated from college. Honestly, sometimes I still can't believe that this is a real thing, but it's mine. It's my degree. So yeah, May, I completed my undergraduate studies and I graduated with a Bachelor of the Arts in Music. But yeah, like I said, sometimes I still forget that that's a thing that I did because I'm still a student, so sometimes I forget that I already completed one leg of the journey, and it's just, I don't know how to put it into words. I still sometimes forget that I have graduated from college, but I did a lot of work to get to that point, and I'm once again very proud of myself for accomplishing that. But that weekend was also very bittersweet because that was the weekend that I had to leave my undergrad, where I had lived for 4 years straight and where my best friends were, and that was honestly really tough. I've mentioned this already in this video, but Sarah is my best friend, and we lived together through 3 years of undergrad, and our first year we didn't live together, but we lived in the same dorm and spent a ton of time together. So when you see your best friend every single day, sometimes spending your entire day with her, most of the time spending your entire day with her, it's really hard to go straight from that to seeing her occasionally when you can visit each other maybe once every month or two. So that was a really hard transition. I knew it was coming, but it still hit me like a freight train, and it still makes me very sad a lot. Honestly, a large chunk of our texts back and forth to each other are, I miss you. Come visit me. Actually, you should just transfer to my school. That's a lot of what we say to each other. And then in June, I turned 22. It was fairly uneventful, but I did definitely blast Taylor Swift's song a couple times, and I got to hang out with my family, so that was nice. Also in June, I went apartment hunting at my new school, and obviously I was successful because I'm in my apartment right now. And that was my first real trip to where I live right now, because the first time, like I said, was really quick. I basically spent the whole day interviewing, and then the next day I headed back to school, so it really wasn't a chance to see much of the town. So in June, I actually finally got to kind of figure out my way around a little bit and to see where everything was at. And then in June was also when I started my new summer job. The past couple summers I'd stayed on my campus and worked in the library like I did during the school year, but I couldn't do that after graduating, so I ended up taking a retail job where my parents lived, which was really different for me because I hadn't worked in retail since the summer between my freshman and sophomore years of college, so that was a pretty big transition for me to make. So then July was pretty uneventful. I was going to participate in Camp NaNoWriMo, but I failed within like a week and I gave up. But I spent most of my July just working and hanging out at home and not doing much else other than, like, you know, YouTube and blog and stuff, but no major life events happened in July. And then in August I moved here and I started living alone without roommates for the first time, which was really weird. And I also started grad school, which was incredibly stressful and very nerve-wracking. I'm such an introvert, so starting a new school and trying to meet people at the same time are very stressful for me. And so most days I came home from orientation and just curled up in bed and didn't do anything else because social interaction was at max capacity for the day. And then also in August, I started my job here working in the library, which is honestly probably my favorite thing about grad school is my job in the library, because I really enjoy everyone I work with and I really enjoy doing what I do. I mean, I'm a library person. I enjoy being in the library and I enjoy working in libraries. So yeah, lots of really big school and work things happened in August. And then to be honest, we can kind of fast forward through September and October because not much really happened. Because my senior year of undergrad was very much like a lot of really major end of school things and a lot of like trying to hang out with my friends as much as possible before we had to move. And now I'm kind of at a new place and I'm mostly just working and school and writing and not much else is going on. The beginning of September was really great because over Labor Day weekend I was able to go and visit Sarah at her new university, which was really, really cool. But apart from that, September and October were pretty uneventful. Don't get me wrong, I've honestly really enjoyed having a really chill time because I love being at home. I'm a homebody. I like to just chill out and not have to do too much if I don't want to. So it has been really nice to just kind of have the space where I can just chill out when I'm not crazily working on grad school stuff. So then fast forward to November, which is a major thing for me because I participated in NaNoWriMo for the second time for the main event, and I won NaNoWriMo on day 20. I'm not gonna talk about this too much because there are tons and tons of videos on my channel from the past month and a half where I just am vlogging NaNoWriMo, talking about NaNoWriMo, wrapping up NaNoWriMo, so I'm not gonna go into too much detail about that because there are plenty of videos. I will leave a link to the playlist up in the description, but that was really cool because I've never won NaNoWriMo before, and to win on the first day that you can validate was really, really cool for me. So then moving on to December, in which I finished my draft for my NaNoWriMo novel, which regardless would be a really awesome accomplishment because it's been a very, very long time since I completed a draft of a novel, but even more awesome in the fact that it's so much longer than I thought it would be, and somehow I managed to persevere and to get through the whole thing despite it ending up being so long of a draft. Like, the goal for NaNoWriMo is 50,000 words, and I knew I'd probably go over that a little bit when the draft was finished, but it's a lot closer to the 100,000 word mark, which is crazy to me. And I don't know if my last writing vlog of the year is going to go up before or after this video, but if it's already up by the time this video is up, I will link to it up in the cards, because in that video I will kind of like show you the cover I created and talk a little bit more in depth about my story if you do want to hear about that and about the editing process I'm going to go through. But yeah, the last time I completed a full draft of a story was like 9 years ago. So obviously it's been a very long time since I've actually committed to a story all the way through, and so the fact that I have gotten through this whole thing, despite how massive it ended up being, is just really, really awesome, and I'm very excited to see what the story has in store for me moving forward. So yeah, that was my 2016. I'm filming this before the year is over, so I guess something major could happen between now and the end of the year, but honestly, I'd be very surprised since all that's going to be going on are finals and heading home for break. So I don't think anything crazy major is going to happen, but I don't know, we'll see. If anything does, I'll add on a little bit at the end and let you know. So yeah, that was my 2016. Thank you so much for being there for that journey, whether that's being subscribed to me throughout the year, subscribing to me at some point through the year, just watching my videos, or if this is the first video that you've seen of me, hey, hi, hello, please subscribe if you like it. But yeah, regardless of whether or not you're subscribed or how many videos that you've seen of mine, thanks for watching this and for being here on my channel in 2016. It's really awesome that I can make these videos and get people talking to me about books and about other things that I'm really interested in, even if it's on a fairly small scale. It's really cool. So yeah, thank you so much for watching. As always, links to all of my social media will be down in the description. Please add me as a friend on Goodreads. I would love to be friends with all of you on Goodreads. Like, comment, subscribe, all that jazz. Thank you so much for watching. Bye!